Welcome to the House of Agents podcast, where we teach you what real estate school didn't, interviewing incredible agents and real estate professionals from all across the world and highlighting what really matters to build a scalable and sustainable real estate business. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, buckle in because we have got an incredible episode for you today. Thank you so much for being here. And as always, thank you for being a part of the neighborhood. Today, I have Lacey Newman here all the way from Nashville, Tennessee. She is a luxury agent who is absolutely crushing it on Instagram, all over social media, doing so much with incredible video, both produced and done by her own iPhone in her hand, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. So I'm super excited to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Yeah, well, today we're going to get into some exciting stuff that, as you guys know, my favorite way to do this is really be as tangible as possible. So a lot of what we'll talk about is tips that you can take and apply in your business. Lacey's also an incredible mentor and coaches agents as well. So I think a lot of what she'll share with us today is going to be applicable to helping you, scale your business and really see better results. And that's what this is all about. So one of the things that I noticed, you market yourself as a luxury agent, right? And this is a question I hear from agents a lot of times, especially our newer agents. They'll say something like, oh, I want to get into luxury real estate, just mostly because they've probably seen, Selling Sunset or $1 Million Listing, and they're like, oh, the pretty $1 million houses. But I'm curious to know from your stance, what is sort of the way to get to that point? Do you think that an agent can come in and just dive into luxury, or what do you think is the best path to becoming and positioning yourself as a luxury agent?
That is such a good question. And let me tell you right now, if I can become a luxury agent, anyone can become a luxury agent. Let's just say I did not grow up in a luxury home. I did not have a luxury lifestyle when I started selling real estate at 25 years old. Honestly, it was probably being naive that got me into the luxury real estate space, because truly I used to jog around the neighborhood where my apartment was when I was like 23, 24, and I would see homes with for sale signs, and there were these small boutique luxury brokers that kind of dominated that market at the time. And I just thought, I want to go work with the guy that sells those houses. And so I strolled in with my resume, which is hilarious because they were like, that's cute, sweetie, put it away. You don't need that here. But I walked in and I was like, hey, I would love to sell real estate for this company. And they were like, cool, go get your real estate license and come back. And I mean, that's how little I knew about how any of this works. And so I just started in a luxury brokerage with absolutely no real reason to be there. And I quickly was taken under the wing of a more experienced, much more established real estate agent offering to sit open houses and just starting to shadow luxury agents and learning from them. And so truly it is not about what you have or how you were raised or where you live. It is only about who you align yourself with to become a luxury agent.
I think that is golden, because that could not be more true. I was sort of similar. When I started out selling real estate, I thought, okay, let me do the volume of really low priced homes. And so I was like under 200,000. That was where I started. But I had this desire to get into the luxury side. And I had to also kind of shadow those agents who were doing it before me. And so that brings up a really good question too. I know that now you kind of coach and mentor agents too. Did you have a coach or mentor that helped you in your real estate career? Or was it just sort of that team leader or maybe brokerage, your broker or something? Did you have someone specific?
Well, it was really my mentor that took me under his wing when I first started out, that he is who I learned everything from. I mean, truly, in the beginning, that was where I learned everything about selling real estate and gained so much experience. But what's funny is it wasn't until 3 years ago that I ever had my first coach of any kind. And interestingly, it was because I got curious about real estate coaching. I signed up for some real estate coaching. I took it and I was like, this is not for me. This particular vibe, these particular types of lead generation strategies, while I'm confident that they work, they are not in alignment with me and who I am and how I like to consume. And so it was really that experience of being exposed to real estate coaching that made me go, I bet there are other people out there who are like me that are looking for an alternative to things like door knocking and cold calling.
Yeah.
And so that's how sort of I was exposed to this new whole idea of getting real estate coaching, which is crazy because I started in 2005 and that was probably like 2022 or 2021 when that happened. And so I spent all these years as an agent totally learning from other wonderful people in the business and learning things from my brokerage, but not having the benefit of this just wealth of knowledge that you can get at a coaching level. And so now I have coaches, multifaceted types of coaches. And it has become such a big part of who I am and how I learn and what I'm doing to continue to grow my business as an agent. And what I'm learning is every coach has coaches. And every successful entrepreneur at a certain level, they are paying big, big bucks for their type of coaching. And so it's just this whole new world has been opened up to me that I know that I not only am a part of in sharing my experience, but I also am a consumer of because I believe in it so much. Do you have a coach?
I do. And you know what's so funny? Over the years, I've worked with so many different coaches, to your point, for some for my real estate business, some for business in general, some for, fitness. I think there's so many different coaches I've had and mentors. And it's so interesting because I was just speaking with a friend of mine the other day who does fitness coaching. And she was really struggling she's like, oh, there's just so many fitness coaches. I don't know how I stand out. How do I differentiate myself? And I was like, well, the same thing is true in real estate. There's a ton of different real estate coaching platforms and coaches and styles and all this kind of stuff nowadays. But I truly believe there is a spot for everyone, because in the same way that every style of lead gen can work, so can just about every style of coaching. It's really finding who you resonate with and whose results you would hope to emulate, right? Exactly. That's what I look at. I'm like, have they done something that I would be happy trading places with? And are they doing it in a way that's aligned with how I want to run my life and business? If those are yes, then that might be a good fit.
For sure. And I also think what's so important is learning from people who have actually walked in your path, because I know that the agent that I am most powerfully positioned to serve and who will get the most results working with me is somebody who's kind of similar to me in a lot of ways. And likewise, if you are, I believe that if you have the experience and you've truly done it yourself, that's the best person to learn from. Because there's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of coaching in the industry that is done by coaches, but not done by successful agents.
Yes, that is very true. And I think there's time and place to learn from other people in those areas, but I personally agree with that and I resonate with that. I prefer to learn from somebody who's done what they're telling me to do. Exactly. Because that's how I also teach, is I'm like, what I'm showing you, this has worked for me and for lots of other people. And so that's why, I've got data to back that. It's not just kind of a theory,
Exactly.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I know that a big piece of your business is around video. And I think that I've been to hundreds of real estate conferences. We've heard from everyone, video's the way to go, video's the way to go. But there's still a lot of agents that have not fully adopted video as a real pillar in their business. And so I'm curious, I know that you've had a drastic jump in the number of listings that you guys had in 2024. And maybe you can tell us the number if you feel like sharing that with us. But what do you think the biggest factor that contributed to that jump in your business in the past year? And do you think that correlates with your, investing in creating videos for your business?
Definitely. So we started 2024 with over $150 million worth of listings in our pipeline, not counting buyers that we were working with, but listings only. Now, between what we've closed this year and what we've added to our pipeline, I would say it's probably over 200 at this point, which is amazing. And we've only been leveraging video in our business for probably about 2 years. And what's funny is that everybody's talking about business, or not business, everybody's talking about using video in their business. But it took me a whole year from the time that I accepted that I needed to use video in my business. It took a whole year before accepting that and actually doing it, because I had so many insecurities and limiting beliefs around what that would look like. And I was just frankly scared. If I'm being honest, I was scared of being judged. I was scared of being bad on camera. I was scared of people thinking that I was stupid. Like, it's just, I had all of those fears. And it wasn't until I started hosting the American Dream TV that I got this opportunity, and I was like, okay, Lacey, this is one of those moments in life where you can either lean completely into it and get over yourself because you know this is such a huge opportunity, or you can continue to let fear hold you back. And I made that choice, and it was honestly one of the easiest Band-Aids to rip off once I finally did it. And so I have so much passion and excitement about trying to help other agents get past that hurdle, because I've seen what it has done for my business. I mean, I regularly get calls now where the first thing they say is, I saw your video about this other house. I want you to market my home like that. And
That's awesome.
that so many agents tell me is they think, oh, well, everybody's using video. Well, number one, that is not true. Number two, it is only your bias based on what Instagram's algorithm is showing you that makes you think that. Mm-hmm. We as agents follow lots of other agents, and we're seeing the posts of agents that are using video on social media, right? But our ideal clients, our people, our sphere, let's say they know 10 real estate agents, which maybe actually a lot, but let's say that each client of ours or potential client of ours knows 10 agents. There may be even 2 of them that are using video at all, and there may be 1 or none of them that is actually showing up consistently. So this impression of and fear that agents have about the market is saturated is strictly because Instagram is just showing you all your agent friends that are making video content. It's not a reality of what your client is seeing.
That is such a good point. And I think so much of what you just said is probably things that other agents have felt or are currently feeling. I think especially hey, I don't want to sound silly. I don't want people to judge me. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I know when I first got started with video stuff, I was petrified of what I would say. It was like I could prepare and I'd turn on the camera and it just all disappeared. And so I'm curious to know from you, what was something that you did, or maybe you just came out born incredible on video, but if not, what were some of those things that you did to build up that comfort? I mean, obviously with repetition, anything gets easier, but was there anything else that you did to make that feel less scary and kind of just get over the hump of, oh gosh, I don't want to do it, or what are they going to think?
For sure. So a couple things come to mind. The first is having the right tech tools to make DIY videos that look good. Because I'm sure like you, and I'm sure like so many of your listeners right now, they're like, if I'm going to do it, I want it to look good. I don't want it to look janky. So I purchased a gimbal, which if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's a stabilizer that makes everything look so much better and it keeps your camera from shaking. So I use those specifically if I'm doing like a house tour video. That immediately elevates your video content that you're shooting just on your phone. I always use a lapel mic because that makes your audio sound professional. And, you just really want to have the latest model of the iPhone if you possibly can. But it's really just having a couple small gadgets that you need to take it from just feeling like you're holding your phone and talking to the camera to having a plan of how you're going to make content that you can feel good about. And so I would say the first thing is making sure that you have the right tech tools, which is super easy. They're not expensive. This is anything anybody can have. The second thing is that when I first started making, let's call it, talking head educational content, I was afraid to address the camera. Because if I looked at the camera, I immediately started thinking about the person who might be on the other side of the camera thinking about me and judging me. And so it just got really in my head to look at the camera. So instead, what I learned from my social media manager, Brant Lyons, is to do this like third party style. So what it would do, and it's funny, we're talking about this right now. In an hour, one of my own one-on-one coaching students is coming to my house and we're going to do exactly this because we're working on this together. And so all it is I'm going to set up across from my student. I'm going to set the camera up on a tripod just off diagonally to the left, and I'm just going to ask her questions. And she's going to focus her eyes on me, and we're just going to have a conversation. And the camera is going to be rolling the entire time. She'll get loosened up. She'll forget it's even there because she's not looking at it. And what's cool is that not only does it make you get out of your head and feel more comfortable because you're speaking to a real person, and you forget about the camera, but it's actually really cool for the viewer who watches your video because it makes them feel like they're the third party just sitting there at a table observing the conversation. And so it's a very nice way to ease yourself into it and get comfortable on camera before you start really talking directly to your audience and looking them in the eye, which can be a little intimidating at first.
Yeah. I love that too, because I think there's a little bit of a perception of some authority with that too, because, whenever you see somebody being interviewed, there's sort of the perception, and typically it's true that that's like, oh, wow, that's somebody I should listen to. It gives me the thought of, they probably know what they're talking about if somebody's asking them about it. And so I think that there's also this perceived added value or added authority with that style that's really cool. And it's so funny you say that because my boyfriend and I were just speaking about this the other day. We were like, we should start as soon as we have new agents that get through their onboarding process and they go through what we call a 90-day launch with our team. We were like, oh, we should have them sit down in our studio and we basically do an interview with them that they can now use as content. It's sort of testing their knowledge too, but it's also giving them all this authority content that they can start using on social media. So I love that you just said that.
Completely. It's such a great way to approach it. And that authority is absolutely spot on. Hey, I just thought of something. I have a free training on my website called Listing Luxury, and it's all about how I've leveraged video to elevate my brand and, add all of these listings to our pipeline. Do you think that'd be something that your listeners would want?
Absolutely. Yeah. Tell them where they can find it. And then also for anyone, I will drop this link into the show notes too. So it's easy to click. But if you want to tell them also how to get there so that anyone just audibly listening can easily tune in.
Yeah, just do this. The easiest thing to do is just go to my Instagram. It's elevated_agents and just shoot me a DM and just say video. Or you can say, I heard you on this podcast, but if you want to just DM me the word video, I'll know exactly what it means. And I'll shoot you over the link to Listing Luxury. Happy to provide that.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that'll be really helpful for people because I would imagine it probably is really broken down in here's how you do it. This is what you're getting out of it. This is how to do video and make it, a resource in your business to help you be more effective.
Yes. I mean, it has changed everything. Truly, we got a $66 million development project this year. And the first thing he said when he called me is, I've seen your videos, I see what you've been doing, and we want you to market this development. And so there is no better way not only to be selling your listings, but to be leveraging this to grow your brand to get more. So it's the number one piece of advice I have for agents right now.
I love that. So on the note of video, I know another big kind of objection that comes up with agents is that they'll think, oh, I've done some video, but it just gets no views. Nobody watches it. It's not getting the views that I want. What would you say to somebody who's concerned about the views that they are or are not getting right now on their videos?
Well, the number one most important thing is consistency. And so many people I see, they will just post something every now and then because they don't like what they made, and it's not until you get in a consistent rhythm that you're going to start to see results. And the other, so that's number one, is you have to be consistent. Like, it is done over perfect every single time. The other thing I would say is that you need to remember that while attracting strangers from the internet is amazing, And that will absolutely happen if you do this long enough. But that is the cherry on top. What you're really doing is staying top of mind for your sphere. And you are staying top of mind so your sphere will refer you to their sphere. And so the goal of doing this is not, I want, 100 leads a month from randoms that I've never met before. No, it is about the phone. You're getting the phone call from the person that you know from your kid's school who knows 5 other agents in the carpool line, but they're going to call you because they see that you're doing this and they see that you're involved. And so it's really just about, it is not about putting out this perfect piece of content that goes viral and attracts all of these strangers to call you and hire you. It's not about that. It's about validating your success in the industry. It's about showing what you do on a daily basis. It's about letting people behind the scenes of your life as an agent, which is so cool. I mean, the fact that people care about our industry, and whether you're buying a home now or in the near future or not, people are interested in real estate because real estate is like the spoon that stirs the pot of the economy. And so it's relevant for everyone and people think it's cool. And so it's something people enjoy consuming, whether they are a buyer or not. And that's amazing for your referral business.
I love that. I also like to think of it as like, it is so funny. You mentioned virality too, right? I think that especially right now, we're really conditioned to seek that, like, oh, I want a viral video. When in reality, every single view is a person. So even if you got 10 views on something, I mean, if you think about it, I love the comparison of picturing all of those people in a room. If you have 10 people sitting there as you're speaking to them, that's an audience, 40 people, 200 people. And so though we may look at sometimes these lower views as, oh, it's not performing as well as I want it to, that's still 200 eyeballs that are sitting there to watch your content. And like you just said, to be consistent with doing it, that just compounds over time. And before you know it, you're really cemented in the minds of people who have consumed your content, even if it was just for the first 3 seconds of a video.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. And it's a flywheel. Once you get started, once you put it into practice, which we haven't talked about this, but there is a lot that it takes to be able to create content consistently. And it really takes changing the way you look at the way you work in your business, because if you are trying to just slide content creation in when you have time and you feel like it, it'll never happen consistently. And so you really have to adjust the way you run your business to make the room so that you can be creative and you can set the time aside to batch content so you can knock out 5, 10, 15 videos one time and then use that for the rest of the month.
Yeah, that is a great point. We always talk about you have to plan your day around your prospecting, not your prospecting around your day. And I think the same thing applies with your content. If there are things that are priorities in your business, those should be blocked out in your calendar first before just about everything else. And then you can fill in the blanks. But if you just think, oh, I'll find some time this week for content, it almost never happens.
No, it does not. Yes,
yeah.
You have to put it in there. But that's what's so cool is that you can do so much in a short amount of time. You just truly have to tune out everything else and focus.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, so I know that you added more video to your business to see that kind of grow. Is there anything that you stopped doing in your business that you've seen a positive impact from?
I think that we just moved completely out of print advertising a couple years ago and went all in on digital marketing. And so I would say that in general, we're continuing to add to our business, not so much take away. But that's the one thing that we have let go of in the past few years, because we just see so much more value in the ability to reach larger audiences through digital media. And whether that's, making video content or it's using paid ads to boost our listings, just investing in digital marketing.
And I think that you mentioned you have a social media manager, but for all of the stuff that you're doing with digital marketing, is that something that you started out by hiring a team to do? Or is that something that you, within your own business, somebody on your team, actually went in, learned it, and does the majority of that?
Yes. So we have had a marketing coordinator or two on our team for many years now. And I would say that when it comes to growing our team, the very first hire for anybody should be a transaction coordinator. If you've closed a handful of deals and you know the paperwork, it's time to go ahead and get a TC because you don't even have to pay them until the deal closes. So I think that should always be the first hire. But our second hire was a marketing coordinator, because you are never going to have your business development activities running 24/7 in the background to generate leads for you until you have a person that is dedicated to do that for you. Mm-hmm. And so while we have experimented with a few different things, I believe that having an in-house marketing coordinator for your real estate business is so important, because think about it. Things shift all the time. I mean, I may have a house I think I'm going to market today, and then all of a sudden it goes under contract and I get a new listing and the plan completely changes. And so I believe that to be effective, you have to have somebody that can be there and respond to the changes in your business on a daily basis.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because I completely agree. I think it can work well either way, but I'm a big fan of having somebody on your team that can allow you to be really nimble with adjusting, because marketing is always changing. Our business is always changing. Obviously, new listings come and go. And so it's important to have somebody who can react and respond quickly and really maximize your marketing efforts.
Exactly. And so we essentially have two. I mean, I have my social media manager that I meet with once a month, create content, and then I use that throughout the month, but then I have my in-house people for the listing marketing specifically. And so it's kind of, I look at it as two buckets, but if I were going to start with one, I would say you need to start with your in-house person. And I'm going to tell you the craziest thing. So we needed to hire a full-time admin. So one of the big changes that we made in our team structure this year has been that we have decoupled marketing and operations. So for the longest time, we had one person or two people, but they shared marketing and ops. We've now decided to separate those two things, because it's just the quantity of the volume that we're doing now. We need those to be two separate people so they can stay in their lane, and we can cut out the going back and forth of like whose job is what, right? Mm-hmm. So we knew we wanted to hire a new team admin. We posted on Indeed. We posted on Instagram. We put some feelers out in our brokerage, and we got like a few leads here and there. We're like, okay. But we hadn't found the right fit yet. So one day, Brooke, who is our marketing coordinator, was in the office, takes out her phone, gets on TikTok, and makes a TikTok video. And it's the most casual, unplanned thing. She was just holding her phone in the office, and Olivia was in there too. And she was like, hey, we're looking for somebody to be our new admin, and you get to work in this cutie little office and with us, and it's really fun. And here's what we do. And, this is what we're looking for. And if you want to come work with us, you should come work with us. We had I had nothing to do with this. Like 3,000 views on that thing so fast. We got over 100 applicants.
Oh my goodness.
We hired Emily, who we found on TikTok. And now here's the crazy thing. My boyfriend works in wealth management and he needs a new assistant. We sent him the batch of people that we didn't hire, and he is probably about to hire somebody off that one TikTok video too.
That is incredible.
I mean, I don't even have TikTok. I'm too old for TikTok, I think. But it was wild to me how the people that were the right fit for that position, that's where they were. And it resonated. It was crazy. It was so just random and offhand, and it worked beautifully.
That is so incredible. That's such a great story. And I think it's, when I hear social media talked about so often, we're like sort of, it usually is a negative tone around the algorithm, right? We're like, oh, it's working against us. They're constantly changing it, all this kind of stuff. But in reality, if we think about all these social platforms, they are a business in themselves. And their goal is to figure out how to put the right videos in front of the right people so they stay on the platform longer. And so that's a perfect example, in my opinion, of that was the right message and it was pushed out to the right people and you got this immediate result, which is incredible. And so if we start thinking about that even in our content, it's how can we make something that's really speaking to the right person and do it consistently enough that Instagram can really figure out who to put it in front of? And if we work hand in hand with an algorithm, you can see the results that you can generate, right?
That is what it's all about to me.
Yeah.
And I just feel like this, lead generation and growing your brand through social media is the easiest, fastest, best way to do it. I mean, I just think about it like this. Does door knocking work? On some people, I'm sure that it does. What happens if somebody knocks on my door? We hide.
Yeah.
I don't want to be approached that way. What happens if somebody calls me on my phone during the day trying to sell me something or present a service, whatever, a telemarketer of any kind? What do? I get irritated and I hang up as fast as I possibly can. How do I buy things? Sitting in my bed scrolling Instagram. That's how I consume. And so why on earth would I try to reach my ideal client in a way that is not the way I personally make purchasing and hiring decisions?
Mm-hmm. I think that's a perfect way to look at it. You've got to kind of put yourself in the consumer's shoes and think, how do I react and respond? And that's
how you find your people.
Yeah. No, I love that. All right, I've got two more kind of hard-hitting questions for you. This is how we wrap up here. So first things first, what is, and I assume I know your opinion, but I'm curious because it's a little controversial. What are your thoughts on AI and using it in your business? And do you use it in your business?
Yes. So we use AI a couple different ways. I have two favorite AI tools. Okay. The first one is Opus Clip, which so let's go back to the example I gave earlier about my student coming over and we're going to shoot long form content or short form content, but I'm just going to record her on the iPhone for an hour, right? As I interview her. All she has to do when she's done with this is take the video, upload it into Opus Clip. AI will analyze the entire 30 or 60 minutes worth of content that we created, and it will create reels. It will take the best, most impactful things that she said and automatically make a reel out of it. You can add captions, you can add B-roll. I mean, it is done for you. My assistant Meryl and I were dancing around the room when we figured this thing out. It was so great. The other thing that we use is Fathom, which has what we've been using to replace Otter in terms of note taking. So since COVID, we do most of our initial buyer or seller consults over Zoom. So we will do, somebody wants to see us and talk about whatever. We're just going to jump on them with a Zoom first. We're going to make sure that it feels like a good fit. We're going to get all the preliminary information before we schedule an appointment to go either show them houses or go to their home to look at it. So we use Fathom for meetings of any kind, and it uses AI to, again, analyze your entire meeting, take out the most important talking points. And what's so cool is that, say there's this great talking point. You and I are having this conversation. We're talking about video, and it's where we gave some tangible things that agents can use. It'll put that clip in there, but it'll also link to exactly where in the video it was. So say you're telling a seller all about all the things that they need to get their home ready to put on the market over a Zoom call, then they can go back and find in the video exactly where you explained that point. It is beautiful. So those are, I would say, probably the two biggest ways we're using AI, and I think they're fantastic.
I love that. Those are two incredible tools. Opus blew my mind. That was probably one of the when I was first discovering AI, that was probably one of the earlier ones that I got connected with. And I was truly mind blown because it ranks them too in order of which one's probably most likely to perform well. It's just incredible. And so again, for those of you watching or listening, if you're starting out with video and the editing piece, a lot of times is where a lot of people get hung up, right? They're like, I can film it, but then I don't have the time to edit it, or I don't know how to do all that stuff. That tool is super, super powerful for shortcutting that process a little bit. So I love that you shared that.
Highly recommend.
Yeah. All right. And my very last question for you here is, what is your number one hot take or unpopular opinion that you think might be a little controversial about real estate or how you operate your real estate business?
The most controversial take on how I operate my real estate business. Okay. I do not hire for my team new agents to be agents. Okay. I don't do that. If you want to be on my team, and you want to be a real estate agent, you can, but first you have to work for my team, whether that's in admin or marketing or operations. I am going to pay you a salary to work inside my team structure for a year or two. And then if you want to transition into selling real estate, you can, but you will have learned all of our systems, all of our processes, the why behind how we do everything. So by the time you start using your real estate license and selling, you're like 80% of the way there. And I think that that is where so many team leads go wrong, is that they bring new agents on. These agents are not guaranteed any sort of payment. They're just sort of like sink or swim. And I think that's why so many new agents fail in the business, is because we just let people get a license after a, quick online course, and then we put them out there to the wolves. But I think that doing it the way that we do it on our team, number one, we have really low turnover. Haley has been with us for, I think, almost 10 years now. She's our senior agent on our team. And everybody gets an opportunity to be successful and to make money from day one, which it enables them to learn while also making money, instead of just going out there and having to wing it and hope for the best.
I actually really do love the way you've said that, because it is so true. A lot of agents, and it's funny when we think about real estate in comparison to just about any other profession, like if you're going to go out and become a doctor, you don't just get licensed and then go start practicing immediately. No. You have, all of this time where you're doing like a residency and you're shadowing
and then
people
a fellowship and
yeah. And so it's so funny, because real estate, I believe, is truly one of those ones where one of those industries that you can get a license and go out there and figure it out and flop around day one. And it's pretty crazy.
I definitely flopped around for about the first 10 years of my career. I can relate to that.
I did a bit of flopping myself. So I say that lovingly because I did it too. So
previous flopper for sure.
I love that. Well,
that's so real. That's such a reality. And I just don't think that it does our profession a service for it to be that way, because one of the biggest problems I see in our industry is the fact that the public thinks that agents are all the same. They think we're interchangeable at best. They think we're disposable at worst. And I think part of that is because there isn't a very clear way for the public and the consumer to know if they're really hiring somebody with a lot of experience or with a lot of current experience. Because, there are agents out there who've been licensed for 30 years, but they might have only sold a house once in the last 5. And that person isn't currently as relevant as somebody who may have just gotten her license last year, but sold 10 houses, And so that lack of structure, I believe, has been keeping our profession from having its rightful place as a high level service.
Yeah.
And so that's something I would love to see change. I don't have the answer for it today, but
I completely agree with that too. Another thing I talk about all the time, real estate for a lot of agents, a lot of people, is their first or maybe only commission only career, right? And so a lot of times as a new agent, you get into it and that can be exciting at first, but also terrifying, because if you don't have a nest egg, you really got to get something going quickly. And as we know, if they don't, then usually the eye starts to wander and they're looking at maybe a side hustle or this other career, or maybe I'll pick up this second job. And the diverted attention now away from their business is only going to further guarantee their failure in real estate sales. Absolutely. And so, it's a really interesting way that it is kind of like a standard. And I agree. I think there should be a better way. I don't either have the answer, but one day there should be a better path that can ensure higher success rate for agents.
I agree.
Yeah,
we'll work on that.
Well, thank you.
We're going to brainstorm that.
Yeah, that's very true. So much for jumping on and joining me today. Where is remind us one more time. I know you mentioned your Instagram handle. Would you tell us that one more time just so the listeners can go and find you?
Yes. So on Instagram, it's elevated_agents. And if you would like that listing luxury, quick, free video training, just send me a DM, say the word video, or tell me that you saw me on this podcast, and I'll be happy to share it with you.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this great stuff with us. I know there's a lot of really tangible takeaways. We will be sure to drop that link to Lacey's Instagram down in the description of the show notes as well, so you can easily click through and find her. But thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.
Thank you.